Most people ask questions about problems that they have in their life, and I try to point them in the right direction.
That's not a lawyer, that's a therapist.
So as a lawyer, what makes you more qualified to provide like better advice than the average person?
Law school.
Huh?
Law school?
Okay, so like how? Like what about law school?
I mean, like, that's a really loaded question. It's like asking an engineer, what makes you better at being an engineer than just someone off the street that went to
what if you
high
ask
school?
A lawyer like an emotional question? Does law school make you like more qualified to answer that kind of question? And give
That's not what we do. These are legal questions.
You said they come to problems. You didn't clarify. You said legal problems. What if I'm a lawyer?
So, I mean, I don't mean to be rude, right? But it's kind of implied that if you're asking a lawyer, you're asking them a legal question. You don't call your podiatrist and ask them about your taxes, do you?
No, I just asked you. I was like, what do you do? You said answer people's questions with problems. So that
Correct. Most people have like problems. They don't know where to start. So I don't need to specify legal problems. It's implied with the word lawyer.
Where'd you go to law school?
I went to Jones School of Law.
See, this is why those of us who are interested in men's rights don't really need to raise any awareness of our cause. The best recruitment tool that we have is just exposure to reality. Give it time, you meet enough women like this, and any sane person will look at the way that women treat men in this culture and realize that we have a problem. She's so hostile, and you might wonder, what could possibly be her issue? This guy's donating his time to help with legal issues for free? What a great guy. But she doesn't see a good Samaritan. She sees a man placing himself in a superior position, having the arrogance of assuming that he has knowledge, that he's qualified to give out advice. How dare a man elevate himself like that? He needs to be taken down. There's such a long list of complaints that women have about men in today's culture. Men are privileged, men are arrogant, men are superficial, men are bullies. And listening to this endless stream of insults and sexist generalizations can be really tiring. That is, until you learn to stop taking it personally and realize that this has never been about men. It's always been about female psychology. What you have to understand is this: a woman's complaint is her confession. Let me repeat that. A woman's complaint is her confession. What I mean is that when a woman is moaning or whining about something, or being extremely critical or judgmental, oftentimes it's because she herself is guilty of the very thing that she's criticizing. Let's look at this common example.
Cheap, frugal men is a red flag. I've seen people connect it to like abusive behavior, and I truly do think that it can turn into abusive behavior. They'll be just over like nitpicking everything, and then they're gonna be up in your money business and not wanting to spend nothing on you.
I feel like men want to spend on women
if they like you.
Yes.
So it's a green flag if he's willing to. If he's like, no spending, bro, he do not like you.
No. Like, have you
He
seen
hates you.
Cheapskates?
Fascinating, isn't it? Women in this culture complain about men being cheap, not spending money on them, even going so far as to say that that means that he hates you or that that's abusive, when the reality is that it's far more often women financially abusing men, marrying a man purely for his money, guilting a man into spending money on her, tricking men into buying her free drinks, demanding that he pay for all of her dates, that he finance her lifestyle. Who, with a clean conscience in this culture, could possibly make the claim that it is men financially abusing women? It is clearly the other way around. It is pure projection. Let me repeat, a woman's complaint is her confession. If you ever hear a woman ranting about how a man who can't pay her bills for her is some deadbeat loser, know that at the heart of her complaint is a confession that she herself is the deadbeat loser. She's not competent to provide for herself. That's why she's furious that the man can't do it. So you've got to listen for the confession that's hidden within the complaint. Like, what about this one? Men are so lazy. When it comes to dating, they put in so little effort. Meanwhile, it's the man who has to do the initial approach, initiate the text conversations, coordinate their schedules, plan the dates, book the restaurants. And women think that it's men who are low effort when all she has to do is turn up and eat free food. A woman's complaint is her confession. It is women who put in low effort. Just like when women complain that a man is contemptible because all he thinks about is himself. What she's actually confessing is that she only thinks about herself. And he's pissed off at him because any time he spends on his own interests is time that he's not spending on her. And what about the complaint that men are shallow and they only care about appearances?
Men are so superficial.
Would you date a guy that's shorter than you?
Absolutely not. I'd at least 6'2".
Again, you've got to listen to her complaint, men are so superficial, as a confession. The idea that women don't care about appearances, about how a man looks, is a myth. It's complete propaganda, and it was pushed to try and make women seem as though they're the more enlightened gender. Like, we are women, we're above all that sort of thing. You know, we don't care about surface level things like appearances. That's for the lowly men to obsess over that. We're deeper than that. No, they're not. The idea that women don't care about looks is bullshit. It's been proved to be bullshit. Let's have a look at the research. This study was called The Importance of Physical Attractiveness to the Mate Choice of Women and Their Mothers. Reading from the study, women and their mothers were strongly influenced by the physical attractiveness of target men and preferred the attractive and moderately attractive targets. Men with the most desirable personality profiles were rated more favorably than their counterparts only when they were at least moderately attractive. Unattractive men were never rated as more desirable partners for daughters, even when they possess the most desirable trait profiles. We conclude that a minimum level of physical attractiveness is a necessity for both women and their mothers, and that when women and their parents state that other traits are more important than physical attractiveness, they assume potential mates meet a minimally acceptable standard of physical attractiveness. When you hear a woman complain, "Oh, men just care about what you look like," what's actually occurring is that she is confessing how much she cares about appearances. And what about this one?
Because that's all guys want. All guys want is
You know, one thing that I've noticed is that you never hear the shy, traditional, librarian type girls complain that men are only interested in sex. But by some strange coincidence, it's always the highly promiscuous women who dress really slutty who complain about men only wanting sex. Isn't that curious? And it's fascinating that this culture is so ready to shame and demonize men for the audacity of having the instinct to reproduce. Men like sex, they're interested in sex, how could they?
Even if it was just an urge, why are men often shamed for wanting it when it's biology?
Ooh, I don't know.
What if we shame women for having periods?
Then you're horrible. That's rude. That's like a normal thing. Like,
I mean, isn't it equally a normal thing for men to want sex?
no,
Why not?
I don't know.
Like everything else, this complaint from women is just a confession. The idea that men only want sex and aren't interested in anything deeper is a lie. It is not reality, it is women's projection. And science has proven again and again that women are wrong when it comes to judging what a man wants. Check out this study, Error Management Theory, a new perspective on biases in cross-sex mind reading. This one was done by David Buss. I love him. He's a great evolutionary psychologist. And this study was testing whether or not women can accurately perceive whether or not a man is ready to commit. Spoiler alert. No, women assume that men just want sex, and they're wrong. We hypothesized that women underperceive men's commitment. Our prediction was confirmed. In contrast to the sex difference in perceptions of men's commitment, there were no significant sex differences in perceptions of women's commitment. This suggests that commitment under perception is specific to women's cross-sex perceptions and does not occur in men's cross-sex perceptions. In other words, men can accurately judge when a woman is ready for commitment. They can tell when a woman wants something more than just sex. Men can see that. Men can pick up on it, but women cannot. Women are content believing the lies of their own projection. Men just want sex. Men just want sex. And it sucks because women will not take responsibility for their sexist assumptions about men. It means that men have to bear the stigma of being the gender that is sex obsessed, of being scared of commitment. 70% of divorces are initiated by women, but men are scared of commitment. Everything is backwards. It's so infuriating. But perhaps the biggest area where women refuse to take accountability for their own projections is this.
It really drives my vag when he has a pity party and doesn't think anybody likes him. He's not smart enough. He's not funny. Drives up my vag.
Well, Sarah, thank you for being so supportive. Men love that. When you're supportive, when we need you, when we're feeling vulnerable, when we're needing that support, especially from our spouse, it just really warms my heart to know that you're worried about your vaginal moisture when we really need that emotional support.
Yeah, he's
Thank
like,
you.
I'm not feeling like I'm valuable. I'm not feeling like I'm good enough. And she's like, ugh, my pussy so dry. Shut up.
Okay, their response was very funny, but hasn't it struck you as curious how much hatred there exists in this culture for nice men? Men who are kind, polite, who have emotions and share their feelings. Those men are nice dudes. Why are they the recipients of hate? Nice guys are too boring. They're too needy. They're too nice. They're too insecure. It just drives me up down there. Or what about this one? Nice guys are sneaky and manipulative. I complain about them because they're just pretending to be nice. Deep down, they have ulterior motives. Okay, what the fuck? This one is pure projection. Women are seriously complaining about men having ulterior motives? It is a hallmark of femininity to be indirect, to be subtle, to not state what you want directly. Ulterior motives is the name of the feminine playbook. With very few exceptions, it is the basic modus operandi of women everywhere to keep their intentions private, to work secretly and in indirect ways to try and meet their goals. The reason why they have so much hate for nice men is not because they are morally above having ulterior motives. It's because they don't like looking in the mirror. It's pure projection. Remember, a woman's complaint is her confession. If a woman hates on you for being too nice, it says way more about her than it does about you. So what are you meant to do with this information? Like, practically speaking, now that you know this, how are you meant to change the way that you interact with women? How is it meant to affect the way you conduct yourself in society? I want to spend the rest of this video talking about that. Specifically, now that you know this theory, how to make practical changes in such a way that's going to positively benefit you. If you're curious what the practical application of this knowledge is, then you're going to want to continue watching this video, which is available on Patreon. What I post here on YouTube, these are just the shortened, abridged versions of my videos. If you'd like to see the full version, then please come over to Patreon.